Hello, Rosie.
Do we need to send her away?
Well, I think she's just going to keep walking in here if we let her
Just
walk around.
Freaking toenails on the floor. All right, so
What's up, everybody?
yeah, good. What's up, everybody? We're here. This is Adam and Ashley.
Yeah.
We are doing a podcast about being grad students and also parents, because those are both things that we are.
Yeah, well, we're about to be
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
We are having a son. He's due in October.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're excited about it.
Yeah, super excited. Despite all of the, everyone who we've told, basically, in sort of our academic life, being excited, but also oh, how are you going to do that? And this is our answer to how we're going to do that. We're going to talk about how we're going to do that.
Yeah, we're going to have a newborn child and make time to podcast to talk about being academics and parents.
Yeah.
I guess specifically the thing that I'm interested in, about doing this is being grad students and first-time parents.
Right.
I mean, it's not like our profs really talk about being parents anyway. Like, they mention their children, but it doesn't feel like anyone is out here giving advice about how to live an adult life when you're a grad student, because we get treated like children.
Right.
It's like we still are, having the status of students.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I feel like we don't get sort of big life moment advice, because they're just thinking of us as only being students.
Right.
The last time I heard anything about, other things that I might want to do in my life is when I was an undergrad, and Michael, my mentor, was like, hurry up and finish your PhD so you can move on with your life and get married and have kids if you want.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, yeah. And I got married and then got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not married, but we're going to do the baby thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting how, professors will say, like, oh, you have to, like, finish your PhD because, they want you to be able to move on with your life or, like, go on to the next thing. But, oh my goodness.
Rose, our lovely, thick daughter of a pit bull, is going to keep running into the room, of course, when she's just been a lazy hog for, like, the past couple of hours.
Yeah, but we're talking in here, and so she wants to be in here with us.
Yeah. Good parents already.
Yeah, in the future, maybe we'll send her away.
Yeah.
So,
to
yeah,
puppy farm.
they basically, no, God. They, will say, like, hurry up and do this, but grad school is the time in your academic career, at least, when you have the most time, and it doesn't get better, and from what I can tell, most professors, most people who go on to become professors, make it work by having a spouse that does all the childcare for them. So one of the things we'll be interested to talk about is how to deal with it when you're both academics, how to balance that, and how to not do it in a way that's extremely sexist, which will be on me to figure out how to do it in a way that's not extremely sexist.
Yeah. Other grad students that I've talked to about this who have had multiple children in grad school have really positive things to say about it, because there, is so much time to be at home, basically.
Right.
But also, some grad students have mentioned things like having the guarantee of the health insurance through the school,
Mm-hmm.
and usually it's not too terrible, and so it's kind of like, oh, this is probably the one time in our lives where we know we have health insurance and we have an income,
Yep.
and we get to be at home kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And so those three things make this kind of an ideal time.
Yeah.
But we're also severely underpaid.
Yeah.
And exploited.
Right.
And so it's, I don't know, difficult to... It's right, I think, that this is a pretty convenient time. It feels like it's just as convenient as any time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that there's no good time, right? There's no time where you're like, yes, all of my issues are completely under control and there's nothing going on in the world that, like, stresses me out. I've got plenty of money and free time to devote to my child. Also, I'm 75 and retired and can't have children. There's just no good time, right?
Yeah.
And so you just have to do it and then figure it out. And so,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting to kind of figure out what about academic life and parenting intersect and how, like, our training as philosophers in grad school.
We didn't mention that part.
Yeah, so we're in both in a PhD program in the Midwest in philosophy, and how that affects what our parenting style is and how we think about parenting. And there are a bunch of philosophical arguments that having children is deeply immoral, so we can talk about those
in
an episode maybe.
It really feels like at some point we should discuss my, like, single proper publication, given that it's about parenting.
Absolutely have an episode on
really
that.
feels super weird that I wrote that as a non-parent.
Yeah.
And probably will have a lot of different things to say after we have this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't have a name for this podcast yet. Feels a lot more like a home recording for our, personal records for right now, but hopefully at some point this goes out and at least one other person listens to it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident that at least one will, because it'll be one of our parents.
Oh, yeah.
And definitely all of our parents will listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So hi, Mom and Dad.
Yep. Hello. And obviously, Vanessa, my best friend, got some
just
people.
Gonna dox her.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I don't know. My feeling about the sorts of things that we're going to talk about going forward is that, I don't know, there are people who go through grad school as single mothers. There are people who go through grad school believing that they can't have children, but they really want to.
Yeah.
And my feeling is that, like, the more we crack open the way that academic life works and try to let people see it for what it actually is, the better.
Yeah.
So this is also part of that larger thing.
Yeah. I'll be excited when he's here and everyone knows about it, because not everyone knows about it right now. We have not told many people in our department. Not all of our colleagues know. Professionally and publicly, I guess on social media, we've been very quiet about it. So it really is just close friends and family members that know it.
Right. So we're having a son in October. Arlo.
I said that.
Yeah, I know. And
Arlo
that
is the
means
name. ARLO.
That means that in 3 months, roughly, he'll be here, and our advisors know, and a few of our friends in grad school, and obviously, like, personal friends and family. But that's it. Our advisors, basically. So
and our advisors, as far as we know, are not outing us.
Right. So part of this is also, like, how do things change for us in our department? Because we're both in the same department at different stages, and how does the department treat us differently?
That's,
being
There's a lot
father
of
and mother, and also being at different stages, and
a lot of history.
Yeah.
With how our academic experiences have gone so far in this department.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we should do the sort of question and answer thing and get more into the academia stuff in another episode.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to say just about our department and
Right.
the dynamics there.
Yep.
That it'll be easier for us to talk about baby stuff tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got some questions that we're going to answer. Some of them are, simple and easy sorts of parenting, well, easy for us, I guess, parenting questions. I've seen a lot of stuff online, articles that are like, here's something you should talk about with your partner if you're considering having kids.
Yeah.
And I think conversations like that are good. They are things that you should talk about before you get pregnant.
Yeah. When we talked for about a year about...
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like 3-ish months into our relationship. We kind of decided, we would maybe like to have a family one day.
Yeah.
Here's a rough timeline of when we could do that if things keep going well.
Yeah.
They kept going well. 2 years later, here we are. And, baby's on the way.
Yeah.
So we did talk a lot about it.
Yeah.
I think...
So this is the first time we've talked about what it is, what having a kid together would be like. Yeah, right. So it's not like we were like, let's have a kid, and
right.
now we're talking for the first time about
how do you feel about some of these major issues?
Right,
yeah.
right.
So the first little set of questions, we have, I think, quick answers to because we've talked for so long about some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of boring pre-baby pregnancy sorts of and newborn questions.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this also just helps us get a sense of how we are both thinking about parenthood. Yeah. So I think if people want to, I don't know, there are probably lots of ways to answer these questions that we would, I don't know, disagree with, but still find like acceptable or something like that.
Them.
Yeah, at least for some of them. Yeah.
There's one that I find the opposite answer to completely unacceptable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely me too. There's probably multiple ones.
All right, let's jump into it.
Yeah.
We have a list here. Try to be conversational, but might just read some of the questions. The first question I listed here is now the right time? We pretty much already covered this. The answer is no. But also, there doesn't seem to be a clearly right time to do this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, one other thing, you brought up that there are some grad students who want to have children, but have kind of told themselves, no, now's not the time.
Right, yeah.
And I have had professors who have waited until, their 40s to have children, and, that's totally fine. But because that's what I saw as an undergrad, that's what I kind of thought was going to happen for me. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what, when I was hardcore committed to philosophy and being an academic, I thought, this is the right way to do this. Mm-hmm. Always prioritize getting the PhD. And do everything later. Much later. Not just you get your PhD and then you start a family. You get your PhD, and then maybe you stay on the job market for, 7 years.
Yeah.
Then you get, an okay job, and only after a couple of promotions would you contemplate having a kid.
Yeah. Most people, the advice, the short advice that I've heard is, tenure and then kids.
Yeah. So, I think that I thought... late 30s, early 40s, that could be it for me.
Yeah.
I still love philosophy, but I think that I've had such a bad time with it that I just started to realize other things in my life mattered more than this.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to put things on hold anymore for something that was so difficult and often not rewarding.
Yeah.
Grad school's not always a pleasant environment.
Definitely not.
And so, yeah, terrible timing. I'm not taking any... terrible timing, I guess, because it's going to be the middle of our fall semester. And I am not taking official time off of school. I am, legally permitted to take 2 weeks off without really telling people why or where. I can request more leave than that.
Yeah.
But because of a bunch of shit that we will talk about in other episodes, I've decided to try to stick it out and stay in the semester. So the plan is to give birth, take a couple of weeks off, and then go back to class.
Yeah.
And that's not awesome.
Not ideal. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm taking as much time as they'll let me take. But, yeah, I mean, like, for this question, we could talk a whole lot about all of the various times, and maybe we can do a very deep dive about when is the best time in grad school or in your academic career to have children, pros and cons for all the different times. I'm ABD. I'm 30 years old. You're prelim. You're still doing coursework.
Yeah.
And you're 27.
That's true.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like we're fresh out of undergrad having a baby either. So,
right.
Is now the wrong time? I don't think so. Given all the times we could decide.
Yeah, like in our past marriages.
Yeah, that would have been the wrong time.
That would have been really bad.
That would have definitely been the wrong time.
Yeah. All right, moving on. How will we share baby duties?
Equally?
Well, yeah, I mean, you said earlier in a not sexist way, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like, pretty close to equally. Or I really trust you a ton and feel like when things are unequal, you'll have my back or I'll have your back at some other point in time to make up for it.
Yeah.
Like, there are going to be days and times where you need to do a lot more work than I do, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And so if it's unequal for a little bit, I don't believe that will become a habit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a lot of ways to understand equality here, but basically, yeah, it's like on average and across different duties, right? So it's not the case that we are going to divide up the duties strictly and rank them and separate them, or
I know that lots of
count their hours or anything like that.
Lots of parents do this sort of, you're on poop diapers today because I've been changing all of them.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't bother me. One other fact about me is that when I'm not a grad student, I'm a childcare provider.
Yeah.
And work with 8 to 15-month-olds at a daycare. And I've been in childcare for, a good number of years now. So, not awesome to change terrible diapers, but it also doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
Is it going to bother me at 2 a.m.?
Right.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that's probably the thing that we would...
But it's this weird timing thing and fatigue thing that we'll just have to navigate when we get there.
Yeah.
We should move on.
Yeah.
So we can get out of this boring section. Do you want to co-sleep? No. I don't want our child in our bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I was ambivalent about this, but I've come around, I think, to your position that it's better.
I would not allow it, honestly.
Yeah.
Mostly because I think one thing that you hear a bunch as a parent is still make time for yourself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Literally, maybe the only time you're going to get to yourself is sleeping in your own bed for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I don't want to squish our child.
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, I want them to be independent. He needs to be in his own room. You know, he'll be with us when he's tiny. Obviously at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because everyone does this.
Yeah.
But otherwise...
Having him in the little side crib kind of deal. Bassinet, yeah.
The side crib.
Not the co-sleeper, that's what I was going to say, but that's a different thing. Yeah. Okay. We can come back to that one, too, as things progress. Will we circumcise our son? No, we're not going to do that. Obviously, we could explain in great detail all the reasons why, but not right now.
Yeah. Yeah, the short answer is all the reasons that people usually do it, we aren't concerned with.
Yeah, yeah. Related, will we raise him to be religious? I mean, we won't intentionally do that, I guess.
Right. Unless he feels the need to seek solace elsewhere.
Yeah, neither of us are religious. I was reading something recently about basically studying philosophy is just what you do when you stop believing in God and need something else to find meaning in. So he'll either be religious or a philosopher, probably, given our backgrounds.
That sounds right.
Are you going to breastfeed?
No. No.
I can just hear all the people getting ready to be really mad.
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't want to, honestly. Yeah. I don't really even feel the need to defend myself here. I just don't want to. I've never thought that is going to be a way that matters a bunch to me to bond with my kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that, chemically even, bonding happens, during that, but also it happens when you feed your baby a bottle.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I won't try to produce and pump and, store up some supply for the health benefits of the breast milk. I just personally don't want to nurse our kid.
Yeah. I actually don't, I mean, maybe you know this, is it the case that breastfeeding refers specifically to nursing, or is it true, do mothers who say, oh, I'm not breastfeeding, only mean that they're not nursing, or do they also mean I'm not pumping at all, or I'm just pumping and dumping when I'm uncomfortable?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're giving them your milk, you could still say he's breastfed or partially breastfed.
Right.
And then the nursing really captures that
specifically
he is latching.
He's attached to your nipple.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, in one sense, sure, he's gonna be breastfed, air quotes.
Right.
But he will not be physically attached to me.
Yeah. I just don't know how to, I don't know what that word means, I guess. Yeah. Right? I don't know which of those things it means.
Well, I'm sure there are a bunch of wild moms out here who would say, don't say you're breastfeeding if he's not on you.
Yeah,
Right. But let's not think about them.
Yeah, sure. That's fair. Anyway, it's just a question. Will we let him cry it out?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like saying no to this means there will never be a time where we just let him cry.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the specific cry it out method, though.
Oh, okay.
When you are training your child to sleep by themselves.
Yeah.
You really do, I think, need to get your emotions in check and be prepared to train your child to be okay, uncomfortable for, a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's your kid, obviously, we will learn his cries and what they all mean. And first of all, when the cry is not okay.
Yeah.
And you can't be leaving him unattended with a sort of blood-curdling, horrible scream.
Right.
Where it's clear that if we don't comfort him, we're traumatizing him.
Yeah.
But typically the cry it out method is I'm going to say goodnight, maybe sing you a lullaby, kiss you, you're going in your crib. I'm shutting your door, and maybe you're going to cry for 10 to 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And the crying is just like the very basic mom, dad, come get me cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he falls asleep.
Right.
And
yeah.
if we do that X number of times, eventually he's going to be put down in his crib and just be like, bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, parents are like, oh, it hurts so bad to hear the baby cry. And it's like, yeah, it hurts so bad when your baby runs your life also.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely going to let him cry it out, but be humane about it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the cry it out method for putting a baby to sleep feels very different than, like, a kind of rub some dirt in it parenting style that's like, your pain and suffering doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, but letting him cry when he goes to sleep for a little while seems like perfectly fine.
It'll be very easy for us, if ever we need to, switch to they, them pronouns. Because I feel like sometimes we keep talking about him as they.
Yeah, yeah.
And even when Vanessa was visiting us, I think I called him it at one point.
You did. I remember that. I was surprised.
I know it's a boy.
Uh-huh.
I just, like, the pronouns kind of don't matter to me.
Yeah.
And so
I'm pretty strongly...
It isn't awesome, but...
It is not a great...
I feel like I navigate between they and he.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty strongly in the camp that, like, they, as a gender-neutral singular pronoun, is just, like, the default. Unless even if somebody's gender pronouns are established,
right.
If they don't feel strongly about them,
yeah.
like, I don't care. I'm perfectly fine with they, them pronouns.
Yeah. Same.
But I know I know that this is a longer discussion to have about when people feel strongly that they don't want those kinds of pronouns.
Right.
Which I think should be respected. Anyway, will we vaccinate him? Definitely not. Just kidding. Yeah, this feels like, I mean, there's just not even a question. Like, yeah, he absolutely will be vaccinated. He can get vaccinated if he wants.
If he decides when he's an adult.
That's right. No, I mean, this is absurd. This shouldn't even be a question. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you know about science and medicine, you should do this for your child.
Yeah. Yeah. No question.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's interesting to entertain why we might not. If he's allergic, like...
Right. I mean, it's like the reasons that you cannot are... okay, fine. Like, right. he cannot. But one thing I recently asked that I haven't figured out, that I do want to figure out, though, is that at this point in my pregnancy, I'm about to have, like, a Tdap vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can't have it till he's 2 months old.
Yep.
And so it transfers to him, so he will come out having some immunity to whatever Tdap covers. I forgot. Like tetanus, diphtheria? No.
Pertussis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if parents who don't vaccinate also reject that during their pregnancy. Like, because if you are a pregnant person during flu season, they want you to get a flu vaccine.
Right.
Basically, my question is, do pregnant people who don't want to vaccinate their child also forego vaccinations?
Yeah,
for themselves because of it transferring to the fetus.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, I kind of don't care to, like, go do the research on this, because I'm just thinking the answer is they should.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can move on now. Our last silly question is store-bought food versus homemade food. How do you feel about this, honey?
I feel like both. I don't know. The homemade food feels like at some point he'll just eat whatever we eat.
Right.
But possibly, like, blend it up.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I
rice
guess
and
specifically
vegetables.
here, it was kind of like, are you going to make your purees
Yeah.
when all they can eat is like soft foods?
In the summertime, probably.
Are you gonna buy the the peas that are already mushy in the baby aisle, or are you gonna get your own fresh organic peas and mush them up?
Yeah, I mean, in the summertime, I'd probably be happy to do
Yeah.
homemade, but
yeah.
I mean,
I don't care at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel strongly about, oh, he needs to have organic food.
Sure.
It would be nice. That's kind of how I shop for myself and us.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'll grab the organic thing when it's not unreasonable to do so. And there are lots of store, on the shelf baby foods these days that are actually good, like pretty good and fine.
Sure.
I have no desire to make all of his food. I guess this was part of the question. It's like, are you going to make all of his food?
Yeah.
Or are you going to buy it? I would like to buy it because I'm not trying to spend time on things that I think don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy for people to do it, and I kind of wish I could think that I will have more time to do that.
Sure.
I just don't think I will have the time.
Yeah.
And so, what's up, Arlo? Here's your store-bought, Gerber baby turkey and rice.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I ate growing up,
Yeah.
as far as I know. I remember my parents feeding my brothers that stuff. It seems fine to me. I don't think there's, like, I don't know. I mean, there are risks involved that are the same as the risks involved of just living in an industrial society. What do you.
That uses a lot of coal for its power, Mom.
Yeah,
Just
that's
shout
right.
out to my mom so she knows about the coal power.
That's right. Still using coal for some reason.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right.
well-
Better questions.
Yeah, I mean, how are we doing on time? I think we're at half an hour, give or take.
Oh, dang.
Maybe
we should just pick and choose.
Yeah, I mean, we can just sort of say, I think, a few of the things that are on here. We don't, like, a lot of these things, I think as we go, we'll want to talk in more detail about, like, what kind of parents we're going to be, how we're thinking about parenting. But, I mean, some of these things are just, like, comparing, our parents' parenting to what we want to do.
Yeah. I do like the way that the first question is worded, though. So, what are some of our default settings based on how we were raised?
Yeah.
Default settings being like, oh, our parents did this for us, and we think it's basically, uncontroversial or right, and so we're going to do a similar thing. Do you feel like anything from how your parents did things stands out?
I mean, yeah, definitely there are things that stick out to me in my head. I don't know, I mean, as default settings, like, they're not at a very high level, they're not very general things. Okay. So, like, one thing is, like, my parents read to me a lot as a kid. And I want to do that with Arlo. That's really important to me, to read with him every night. Yeah. Basically, as soon as he's born. Okay. Just, like, sit down and read a little book to him. And, when the semester is, like, underway and, I am, because I'm working on my dissertation, I don't know how much course reading I'll be having to do, but for teaching, if I'm doing any reading or anything like that, I'll probably just read papers to him. Yeah. Arlo can learn about causal modeling, and I'll just talk about that. I don't know, there's other things about, like, punishment and, like, just, like, how my parents talk to me that I think were good, Yeah. But I think it's mainly, like, as far as default settings go, I think the maybe overriding one is that one or two things was, like, my parents were never shy about telling me that they, like, loved and cared about me. And that they loved and cared about each other. Okay. And they treated me pretty much like I was a responsible agent as soon as I can remember. So it was like right away, it was like, you know, you're learning, but you are responsible for your actions, and we're going to talk to you like you know things and can know and understand things. And that's maybe an attitude that I would want to adopt.
Yeah.
And I think I will not find it hard to adopt, because it's already how I talk to children.
Right.
So I'm just like, you know,
hello, what's
yeah,
up?
right. How are you doing? What are you
Yeah.
thinking about?
Right.
What's new in your life? And they're like, blocks. And I'm like, oh, cool. All right. Let's
Yeah.
talk about blocks.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that kind of stands out to me about how my mom raised me, and my brother, for that matter, that I appreciate is that she wasn't one of these helicopter parents, or wasn't, you know, over parenting.
Yeah.
My brother and I were both really independent kids.
Yeah.
I liked being alone, and I liked to do my own thing. And, you know, in some ways my brother was like that too. And I felt like she didn't intervene on us if she didn't have to.
Yeah.
Which I pretty much, you know, feel that way about if Arlo kind of comes out and is sort of naturally independent.
Yeah.
I'm not going to intervene if I don't have to. Not that you can't still offer guidance and some structure, but if the kids are basically doing well,
Yeah.
why try to fine tune it, you know?
Yeah.
It just feels like let them do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of, you know, treating them like they're responsible and treating them like they're people.
Yeah.
If they're getting it basically right, why police them?
Right. I think this relates to this other question that's on here. Like, do you want what's good for our son or what's best? And it feels like, I feel like maybe not what's being asked explicitly in this question, but what's implied here is that, like, what we think is best,
Yeah.
something like that. It's
Yeah,
not like,
I mean,
do you want the most expensive cookie or the fine cookie?
Yeah.
And it feels like, yeah, I mean, there's got to be a large part of this that is just like letting him make mistakes and just, you know, discover things for himself, but like have his own projects and like have his own life.
I mean, I think a clearer way to break down that distinction is who knows what's best for our son, us or him?
Right.
And I think he does.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't think that we do.
Yeah.
We don't know him yet.
Right.
All we have is this abstract idea of us having a child.
Yeah.
And how we are going to care for him, you know. But otherwise, he's going to know what's best for him. He's going to know what he likes and what makes him uncomfortable and, you know, what makes him happy or scared and how he likes to spend his time. And, yeah, I think sometimes you do a little more when it seems like the child needs more guidance. But otherwise, I think they're pretty good at identifying what is good for them and what's best for them.
Yeah.
And can communicate those things if you as a parent let them know that their communication is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another thing that I appreciate about, you know, my mom's parenting style was never feeling like children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
You know, I could say anything to her, you know, and she seemed to care about what I thought and what
she took you seriously.
Yeah,
as
I mean, she took
person?
me seriously, and it wasn't just like, well, you're a child, so your opinion and your beliefs don't matter, so we don't need to have this discussion.
Yeah.
I didn't feel shut down by her, and so feels like, yeah, because, you know, I had stuff to say, and she listened to it.
Yeah. I have lots of really good memories, which is weird because a lot of the times when this would happen, it would be like after I would be in trouble. But I would be in my room and my dad would come in and talk to me, and sometimes for hours. We would just sit and talk. And the ones where I was in trouble, it was like, he would kind of sit down and he would be like, well, what do you think
Yeah.
about all this? And I would be like, this sucks or whatever. And he would be like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And we would talk through it. But it wasn't always like that. It was sometimes we would just talk. And, you know, I miss being able to talk to him that much. But it was also like a time where it was very clear to me that, like, he was not interested in just telling me what I had done wrong or something, but, like, interested in talking to me about what was, what had happened. Like, like being able to, like, let me work through it and talk about it. And then the times when we would just talk would be, what's going on, like what's happening in your life kinds of things. And it would be similar, like, oh, it matters what I would say about things. So, that's something that, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just, at some level, don't understand why people are inclined to think children are not able to understand complex ideas or something. I mean, like, it seems like children can understand reasons very early.
Yeah.
They
really,
are smart, and
parents project their issues onto their children.
Yeah.
So when parents have communication issues and don't understand reasons, don't understand arguments,
sure,
that, I think,
that becomes
part of how their child sees the world and operates in it too.
Yeah.
Even though I think children are probably predisposed to getting these things pretty well.
Yeah.
But their parents are their role models and their idols.
Sure.
And they're going to look at what we do and copy it, basically.
Yeah.
But the whole conversation thing when you were disciplined as a kid, I think, is a good sort of disciplinary method in general. Like, I am opposed to spanking. I won't do it. I mean, I say that now. I hope I don't.
Right.
The reason that I would is because of what I think spanking is. The parent loses control and physically lashes out in anger. Hitting does not teach your child anything.
I think even if it's done kind of like in a controlled way or whatever, like, okay, now you're gonna get spanked. It's like, I mean, it's like just like a very simple form of punishment that I think is,
And that's not to say, like, I don't even believe, like, oh, all spanking is abuse. That's not what I think. I think, lots of people pat their kids on the butts, and I don't think, oh my gosh, child abuse.
Right.
I just think it's not effective. My mom was like the queen of being scary mom without having to lay a hand on me. I did get hit, at some point, but at another point, it really just took a look and, a sort of question of, like, what do you want to happen next in this situation?
Right,
except for my mom's way of saying it was like, either I will give you something to cry about, or would you like to go to the bathroom?
Oh, okay.
That was, like, the scary place where, the threat of a spanking existed. But, I feel like conversations are preferable. I work with toddlers, so I know that you can't talk to toddlers really about some of the stuff, but you can't have a full-on conversation. You can teach them, some
basic
short phrases that are really helpful. So, like, we teach the kids gentle touching if they are hitting us or biting their friends or, and you do a little arm motion with them, like, to teach them what a gentle touch is and stuff like this.
Sure.
I think there are other things we can do besides, hitting our children.
Oh man, well, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
We talked about discipline. We talked about what our parents do.
Yeah. The one that I like, so one from this second section that I want to just say a little something about is like what values of mine as an individual I think will especially transfer over to parenthood. I mean, of course, all of them, because I'm going to be his mom.
Sure, yeah.
But what I was thinking about this question was like, even with the dogs, I like really prioritize fairness.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't like it when it seems like for half a second you're gonna give Rosie a thing, but not give Siege a thing.
Yeah, right.
I'm
if
like,
one dog gets a treat and the other doesn't.
If one dog gets a thing, the other dog has to get a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only animal in the house who doesn't always get a thing is Phantom, and that's because he's a cat and he doesn't care.
Yeah. He doesn't need material objects. He's transcended that.
The dogs, on the other hand, are very aware of when they're being excluded.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
But, you know, justice and fairness are things I care a lot about. And, you know, professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, probably for both of us, lots of things that we do while we're raising Arlo are gonna have serious justice and fairness messages.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we are, I guess, semi-politically active people. I assume he will go to rallies and stuff with us.
Yeah.
And will see us yelling in the streets about things we care about.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because I want him to know, like, here's what we think is right.
Yeah.
Right for us, but also right for everyone.
Right.
Because I think lots of our values, both personal and political, really are sort of humanitarian values.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I care about other people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know, it's not good to just think about yourself.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, I mean, we don't have to really do with Arlo what we do with the dogs, like, you know, divvy up the treats fairly, because will get... Alright, well, that's
Speaking
Siege.
of the dogs.
Yeah. Probably is convinced that there is some sort of intruder.
Probably a rabbit in the yard.
So it could be a lot of things.
Hang on.
Okay. You gonna turn on the porch light?
Relax. You're fine.
The porch light isn't on?
I turned it on and then turned it back off.
Oh, well, I wanted to be able to see out in case there's an intruder.
Oh, well, I can see.
Okay. You can see in the dark?
No, I can see the door.
Okay. So anyway, sort of justice and fairness stuff, I think, comes up because I expect that when he gets to a point where he can talk and we can have these conversations, I hope he will get good at trying to figure out what it means to compromise and what it means to come up with like an optimal or like fair solution given the circumstances.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it's as something as silly as, well, I don't want, 8 o'clock bedtime. I want 8:15 bedtime. It'll be like, let's talk about the reasons, why this is a thing that we really need to discuss, but also why do you feel like staying up for 15 minutes later is like better for you than not or something. I mean, fairness is kind of, I think, another thing we should talk about in a separate episode at some point, because on the one hand, you can have a read of fairness where it's a balance between two things.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could just think, there are things that are fair.
Yeah. There's states of affairs that are fair.
There are states of affairs that are fair.
Yeah.
And what are they?
Yeah.
And, you know, a classic kid complaint is, that's not fair.
Sure.
It's like, I will gladly engage with him about, trying to figure out what fairness is.
Yeah, let's talk about the veil of ignorance. Introduce, is there a John Rawls kids book that we can...
Probably.
Yeah.
If not, maybe we should write it.
Yeah. There's a shocking lack of philosophy kids books on the market. So,
well, when you have to wait until you're 45 to have children,
yeah,
and you can only publish things in obscure journals that no one will ever read,
mm-hmm.
you're not actually putting any of your vast philosophical knowledge into popular children's books. Yeah.
I think that's right. You just throw a copy of Justice's Fairness at them or whatever.
Here's your child's reading material.
They get the light, the restatement, the lighter, yeah.
No, Arlo's getting A Theory of Justice.
Just gonna prop him up next to one big giant book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I mean, we'll talk in future episodes, I'm sure, about whether or not he'll have any siblings. And that could be one way in which...
We'll have siblings. Rose and Siege and Fanny.
That's right. Our three animals. I'm not calling them fur babies. I won't do it. All right. Well, I think that's a good start. What do you think?
We'll scroll down real quick just so I can see the end there. Yeah, we should hold off on some of these other things for later.
I definitely want to talk about them, but I also don't want this episode to go crazy long just to start.
And I want dinner.
I also want dinner. All right, well, that's enough information about what time and everything we're recording. All right, well.
Maybe next time we'll have a name.
Yeah, hopefully by the next recording we'll come up with a name for the podcast, and this is where I'll insert either some ad copy or a plug for our Patreon or something like that. By our
baby registry.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be the thing.
Diaper fund.
The diaper fund.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well.
Okay.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.